In this video, I'm going to be reviewing this new teleprompter from Glide Gear. It's the TMP-WB. They were kind enough to send this over to me to check it out. It is replacing one that I had already reviewed, and I'll give you a little bit of a comparison to the last one in the line and what's different about this one. So let's dig in. So I'm guessing you already know how teleprompters work, but if you don't, I've got lots of videos about teleprompters. Just click up there to see that playlist. But the gist of it is you've got a mirror that will display your script typically, and behind that mirror is going to be your camera. So you're looking in this way, you see your script, the camera doesn't see your script. It's a two-way mirror. They're great, and they're actually great for two things, not only for recording your script, being able to read your script while looking at the camera, but also something that I use it for is being able to look someone in the eye on a video conference and have it look like you're looking them in the eye. And I've got a video that talks more about this, about what the problem is there, about how things don't work well on a typical webcam call. And I work with coaches, so if you're a coach, you want to be able to look your client directly in the eye, have them feel like you're looking at them, while you're seeing exactly how they're reacting to what you're saying. So that's what's really important. Today, I'm going to cover kind of both of these a little bit separately. So the TMP-WB is set up to work with both a webcam or a bigger camera, like a DSLR or a video camera. And I'll show you both of these. But the gist is, because it's small, you're going to be using an iPhone, not an iPad. And you'll just put that under there and then tighten it up with this here. Then you should be able to see the script on the screen and the camera would be directly behind. So one thing I noticed when using this with a webcam, depending on how high the webcam sits, this little clamp here that holds your iPhone in place is just a little bit too tall. However, it's great. It's got a little screw on the bottom to hold it in place and some foam rubber in there. One other thing, I'm not sure if this is just mine, but let me just show you this. If you've got like a really big iPhone, maybe an iPhone, X Max or something like that, you can see here that this doesn't quite tighten down enough. So it's a little bit loose on the end. I guess I could just throw a washer behind that, but Glide Gear, if you're watching, maybe something to take a look at. So this is the earlier version that this is replacing. And I did a video about this, actually compared it to a Bodilin. This was about $200, and there was a more expensive version on the market. And so you can, once again, check out that video up here. But this was really set up to be able to clamp onto the top of your monitor and have your webcam looking through and then bouncing from this mirror, bouncing up what was visible on your screen. So if you were using something like Skype or Zoom, you could just put a small window there on your screen, it would bounce it up, and so you'd be looking directly into the other person's eyes while the camera is behind. And that was a great system. And I'm going to tell you how to do that with this new one. It's a little more complicated, but it actually, in the long run, might be a little bit more convenient. Let's take a look at adding this to a desktop computer or a laptop, using it with a webcam first. So you'll see on the back there are these kind of little brackets, and they move up and down. And you can kind of set them if your camera is high or if it's low. The one thing I noticed with this is it doesn't go high enough if you're using an external webcam like a C920, which is my favorite. If that's clamped onto the top of your monitor, let me show you that here. You can see this one. If we were to clamp this over the top, I know this is kind of hard to see. I'll turn my monitor here maybe a little bit. You can see the webcam is actually too high. Now it's not in the center of the teleprompter. So that it'd be great if this was set up. The old version, you could adjust it much more up and down. And so that helped with external webcams. But right now this is really set up, at least in this system, to only work with an internal webcam. Don't worry, I'll tell you about external webcam and the better, more efficient setup before the end of this video. So let's talk about using it with your internal webcam, which it definitely works for. So they've got these pieces of fabric, black fabric, and I like how they've done this compared to the last version. So they've got a piece of black fabric with a hole in the middle. The hole is where your webcam looks through, and everything is Velcroed here. So you can take off this fabric, and you can also put a piece of fabric on that goes behind the webcam. So that goes and mounts on top of that. Once again with Velcro. It's not perfect, but it does work at keeping the light from shining through the back side of this. So with a teleprompter, it has to be completely pitch black behind the glass. Otherwise, it doesn't work as a mirror. So let me go ahead and set this up with my internal webcam on my iMac. So I'm just going to hook this over the top. And the first thing is just a reality with this is that I've got an older iMac, and when you put anything on here, it just automatically tilts forward. So typically I've ended up putting stuff behind to try to get it to be the right height so it's not cutting off the top of my head, because right now it's cutting off the top of my head. But you'll put that directly over the camera, and then you'll put your teleprompter software will be running on your iPhone, and you can tuck that in here, tighten it down, get it exactly where it needs to be. You can move this up and down depending on how far the top of your computer or your screen is from your webcam. If it's really close or really far, you've got about maybe 1.5 inches of space to move around there. Then you can tighten that down. You'll see here that you need to get it high enough so you don't, in the webcam, see the corners of the teleprompter. And when I've got it up high as possible and I'm using the webcam in my on my iMac, you can see here that it's actually just, the webcam is a little too wide for this device. So it's starting to see the edges here. So if you're going to be editing and you can zoom in and cut out those corners, that's great. But if you're using it on a video conference where it's live, the person on the other side might see these little corners in your video. This is the setup that you would use if you're trying to use this as a teleprompter. You're using your phone as the teleprompting device. So I'm reading the script coming off the phone. But if you wanted to use this for video conferencing where you see the other person's face show up in front of the camera, it's a little more complicated. Before, you just had a mirror here and it would bounce up from this screen. Now you have to use your iPhone for that. And if you're using a Mac, there is software that helps with this. It's called Duet, and I'll go into that a little bit more. But essentially you're plugging your iPhone into your computer with a USB cable, and then you're mirroring your screen and then moving it around so that you can see up there. And this works pretty well, but I'm gonna, once again, I'm hinting at what I'm gonna show you in the end, which is the best solution. One last improvement that they've made here is there's a little piece of foam rubber on the back here, so it's no longer metal resting on your screen like the last version. So that's using a webcam that's built into your computer. But what this also does is this allows you to use a DSLR or a video camera or an external webcam in a separate way. So I want to show you about that now, because that's really kind of a nice, powerful thing here. If you want a teleprompter that just sits on the front of your DSLR, this is a great solution. So this is part of the kit that you get from Glide Gear, and it's these, they're called 15mm rails, and you can just screw these into the back. And then you'll be able to mount a camera, DSLR or a webcam or something on this. This just has a 1/4-20 screw, which is the standard screw that goes into the bottom of a camera. You can also, because these are 15mm rails, you could, if you've got like a camera rig or something like that that's on 15mm rails, you could attach this directly to the front of your rig. Not many coaches have something like that. The other thing that I really like here, and this is just because of my own clumsiness, is the way that Glide Gear has added these little, I guess, plastic rubber stoppers on the end. One time when I was filming, I had my camera sitting on a tripod, and I didn't have the tripod head completely locked down. And so camera's up here, this piece slides back and forth. You can lock it down. I didn't have that locked down either. but the weight of the camera tilted the tripod back, and then this just went flying off the end. Thank you, Glide Gear, for putting these on. I think I'll be doing that to my other teleprompter too. So you can attach a DSLR back here. I'm actually using mine right now to film, and then move it back and forth depending on the length of your lens. And then what you'll do is you'll put that other piece of fabric over the top of the DSLR, or over the lens really of the DSLR, and that'll block out all the light. But really what I want to go more in depth into is using this with an external web camera, because being able to read the text on screen, that's a great use of a teleprompter, but being able to see another person and being able to talk to them live, looking them in the eye is something that I'm really excited about. And that's something that you can do with this. And let me show you how to do that now. So I'm going to take my external webcam and mount it. You can see this webcam is C920 or C922. It has the 1/4-20 screw in the bottom. So let me take that and mount it here. And then I'm going to move it forward here as far as it'll go and adjust this up here so that it's in the center. There we go. And now what I've done is I've put a miniature tripod on my desk. So let me connect this. Of course, this has a 1/4-20 screw in the bottom of it because this is where it attaches to a tripod. And this could be a full-size tripod or just this little mini one on my desktop here. So now I can use this exact same setup with my computer. I can just switch over to my external webcam, and then you can see the images coming from there. Once again, we've got to do a little adjusting here. It is a little hard to adjust this with an external webcam. So it's a little bit of a challenge here to not catch the corners and also not catch the front end of this where it's clamping on the iPhone. But you can take that piece off if you need to. So now I've got my script up here, and I could just pop into Zoom or Skype or some QuickTime to record a video of me talking and speaking my script. But the really exciting part is on a Mac. I'm not sure how to do this on a PC, sorry, so hopefully someone can put in the comments below a similar software that can be used, and if they do, I'll put that in the description of this video. But I'm going to take a lightning cable and plug it into my phone. I'm going to pull this out of here for this. I'm going to get out of the teleprompter, the Prompt Smart app. That's my favorite app there. And I'm going to open up something called Duet. And then it's going to launch once I've connected to my PC. So I've got the Duet software running both on my phone and on my computer. You can see some flashing going on here. I'm going to hold it sideways. Now you can see that there is a this is showing on the screen. This is actually showing as a second monitor. So you can see this is actually, if there were two monitors, this would be the one sitting over here. So this is a great option. So I'm going to take this zoom window and just drag it onto the second screen. And you can see it popping in there. And you can see how now I have the person that I'm talking to ideally. Right now I'm the only person on this Zoom call, so it's only me. But I see that person on my iPhone. Then we put it inside here. And now what I'm seeing is myself or whoever's on the other side of the Zoom call directly in front of the lens of the webcam. And that's the key thing here. This is something where you don't have to have this clunky system set up on the front of your computer and then you have to take it off and take it back. You could just use an old iPhone, set it up here, set it on a tripod with this device, and every time you need to get on a call, just switch over to that webcam. So especially if you're a coach and you're doing a lot of coaching calls and you're doing a lot of them by Zoom or Skype or some other video conferencing software, this is a great opportunity for you to just be able to switch over and have kind of like a second monitor set up where you're speaking directly to the person on the other side of the call. So that's a pretty cool system that I figured out how to set up with this. But then I realized if I'm going to have my webcam and a separate monitor setup, wouldn't I rather just use an iPad, so something bigger, so the person's face is bigger on the screen? And what I realized is the good old Caddy Buddy is still my favorite teleprompter. You can do the same thing, so you can see here that this is my face or the other person's face showing up on an iPad size. This doesn't have the problem with the, seeing the corners because the screen is so much bigger. So if you are going to set it up that way, I would still recommend the Caddy Buddy with this Duet type setup for video conferencing. And one last thing about the Glide Gear is they do give you a case to store it in. That's something that I really like about Glide Gear, is everything they sell, I think, comes with a case. So you don't have to worry about trying to create some space to store it or some box to store it in. So if you're already subscribed to my channel, you know how much I like to go over teleprompters and review them and try to find the right piece of gear for you. And I want to thank once again Glide Gear for providing this to me for free, and you can support my channel by purchasing it over on Amazon if this is the right piece of gear for you. I'll also list some other gear down there that I think might be a good option that I've mentioned in this video. But the next thing that you should do if you're not quite ready to purchase is head over here to look at some of my other videos on teleprompters. I'll see you in the next video.